Hey guys, welcome to the quarantine school. This is Bhumik Reddy, and we are going through the chapter of reproduction in organism. Today, we'll be diving into the next topic, which is sexual reproduction. Just before diving deep into it, let me give you a quick recap of what we did last time. So, we became familiar with some terms which were lifespan. And we studied about the varying lifespans of different organisms in the tabular sheet given over here. Then we also got to know a fun fact that lifespan was not dependent on the size of the animals. It's basically irrespective of the size, whatever size they have. Okay, then we came to the reproduction. What is reproduction? There are these two types, reproduction as asexual and sexual reproduction. Then we got into our main topic, which was asexual reproduction, in which a single parent gives rise to two or more daughter cells. Okay, and they're basically lookalikes. So we give this lookalikes a term known as clone. Clone are used to describe morphologically and genetically similar individuals. Okay, now then we got two different organisms who reproduce asexually, which were yeast by budding, amoeba binary fission. Chlamydomonas has some special reproductive units known as the zoospores. Then Penicillia has conidia, buds in hydra, and gemmules in sponge. Okay. Throughout all this, we also got to know that cell division in these kind of organism was also a mode of reproduction. Okay. Where a cell divides, then there is a birth of an organism. Then we come to that were all animals. This is about plants. When plants or sexual reproduction is not used, the term vegetative propagation used, and uh, reproductive units here are called as the vegetative propagules. Like potato plant has buds, then ginger has adventitious roots and also bud. Again has bulbil, then leaf buds in rhizophyllum, and offset of water hyacinth. Okay, then we came to this. Dark side of water hyacinth, that it has been terror of Bengal. It scourges the water bodies, and it basically vegetatively propagates at such a phenomenal rate that it can cover a water body in a very low amount of time or with very less time. Then we also got to know about the fact that asexually reproducing organisms, when they are in trouble or they are surrounded by adverse or harsh conditions, they adopt adapt themselves to sexual reproduction. And this was basically the process of ancestration, where the parent cells cover the daughter cells with a smooth sheath or with some protection something, so that they do not get carried away in the harsh, what to say, harsh conditions, severe conditions. Okay, now next we come to our main topic of today, which is sexual reproduction. Unlike asexual, let me tell you, sexual reproduction is very dynamic, elaborate, slow process. It's complex as compared to asexual, because there is just not one parent, there are two, and these two parents are opposite in their sexes. So if one is male, then another is female, and their sexually reproductive units have to fuse together to form an offspring, rather than what we saw in asexual reproduction. Okay, now in sexually reproducing organisms, there are these three phases. Remember in the last video, I told you that between birth and death, there are three phases: juvenility, maturity, and aging or senescence. So that's what it's basically in human beings, which we consider a sexually reproducing organism. So I've told you in earlier video, but as I've given here, we'll again discuss it. So the period of growth before maturity or before we can reproduce sexually is known as juvenile phase in animals, and at plants this the term vegetative phase is given to them. Okay, now we have a certain interesting question over here. Like in some plants where flowering occurs more than once, what would you call the interflowering period? Okay, what would you call the interflowering period? But Okay, I'll tell you what it is. So you know that there are three types of flowering plants. One is annual, there is biennial, and there is perennial. Annual only flowers itself in once in a year, biennial two times or three times, and perennial it's continuously flowering throughout the year. Okay, now there are okay plants. The annual and biennial types show clear-cut vegetative and reproductive and senescent phases. Okay, means in annual, which grows once in a year. Some let's assume that it flowers in September. So from January to May, there is this juvenile phase. Then from June to August, there is this maturity phase. Now they have gained this maturity. So in September, they flower, and from October to December, it might be their aging or senescence. So there is a clear cut means we can see that there is a clear cut division of all these phases in growth. But what about perennial? So in perennial, where there is okay, let's consider January to May period. So there's juvenile, there's maturity, it flowers, it dies, means the flower shuts off. Then again, there is a juvenile. So the entire flowering period is known as juvenile, not a maturity phase. So you would like to note the answer over here. It's, in some plants where flowering occurs more than once, what would you call the interflowering period? It's juvenile, not mature. Okay. Now, do you think? Okay. Now there are some of these interesting examples they have cited in our textbook. Thanks to NCRT, a few plants exhibit unusual flowering. Like they have given this, some of them like bamboo species, bamboo species. Okay, they only flower once in their lifetime, generally after 50 to 100 years, and produce large number of fruits and die. Another plant is Strobilanthes kunthiana or Neela Kuranji. It flowers once in 12 years, and this happened during September to October 2006 in our country, in the southern region, Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu, that this plant was present there, and that period was its flowering period. It's flowered, and it flowered so large that it covered all the hilly areas, all the tracks with its beautiful flowers. Okay, so in animals, the juvenile phase is followed by morphological and physiological changes. Okay, you know that before when we are going to start attaining our puberty or the adolescent stage, there are some changes in our body which we notice. Like girls have a sharper, high-pitched voice, where boys have a bold voice, bold, kind of strong. So yeah, then there is a growth of facial and pubic hair all over the body. There are some like enlargement of breast in female. Okay, and some secondary sexual reproductive organs also develop. These are the few of the changes. Okay, now the reproductive phase is also of variable duration in different organisms. Not all organisms have the same at the same time are reproductively active. Okay. Among animals, for example, birds, they have this question here. Do they lay eggs all through the year or is it seasonal phenomenon? Well, fun fact coming right up. There are the animals which are kept in captivity, they can be made to lay eggs throughout the year or whenever we want. But whereas animals which are in the wild or hens which are in the wild, they can only produce eggs at certain time of the year or at certain seasons. Okay, however, birds in captivity can be made to lay eggs throughout the year. This is commercial exploitation for human welfare. The females of placental mammals exhibit cyclical changes in the activities of ovaries and accessory ducts, as well as hormones during the reproductive phase. In non-primates, mammals like cows, sheep, rats, deers, dogs, tiger, etc., etc., such cyclical changes during reproduction are called estrous cycle. And you know, you might be familiar with this term that in us, the human beings, the primates, this term is given as menstrual cycle. Many mammals, especially those living in natural wild conditions, they exhibit only in particular seasons. So they are the seasonal breeders, where other animals which continue, they are reproductively active throughout their life. They are known as continuous breeders. Okay. Now after this whole maturity thing, we have grown, we are reproductively active. All this, after all this thing, there is the last stage which we are close to that. It is old age and senescing or aging. The end of reproductive phase can be considered as one of the parameters of senescence or old age. There are also some changes in our body when we become old. Our immune system becomes weak, our bones are less stronger, then there is slowing down of metabolism. That we eat food and the food stays in our body for a long time. There is a slowing of metabolism which is happening. Okay. In both plants and animals, hormones are totally responsible for transition. From when you take birth till you die, there is this chemical messengers which are known as hormones, which take care of all these changes between all the three different vital processes or phases of your life. Okay, interaction between hormones and certain environmental factors regulate the reproductive processes and associated behavioral expression. So that is all fine. We got to know what are the three vital phases in growth. Now let's focus on the main thing, which is after attaining maturity, when we are reproductively active, what all is going there. So we are now focusing on the events in sexual reproduction. After attainment of maturity, all sexually reproducing organisms exhibit events and processes that are remarkable, fundamental similarity, even though the structures associated with sexual reproduction are indeed very different. Okay, not all organisms have the same sexually reproducing structures. In every living organism, it's different basically. So now we are bringing this all events into three basic parts. It's pre-fertilization, there is fertilization, the vital process, and then there is post-fertilization. So in today's video, I'll be just focusing on pre-fertilization and its two main vital processes, gametogenesis and gamete transfer. So pre-fertilization events, like it's like before an event has to occur, you have to do something preparations, like whatever preparations you name for a particular event. But for reproductively being active, there has to be this events which are known as pre-fertilization events, and these are gametogenesis. Gametogenesis is basically preparing our gametes, which will go uh, fuse together and form a miraculously organism known as a zygote, or you call it as a baby. Okay, so gametogenesis is basically like preparing the army of gametes so that they can fuse and pull out as many number of child you can want. Okay, and then there is gamete transfer. Means obviously after preparing, you have to send them to this particular event so that the event can take place. That is gamete transfer. Now let's focus on the one thing, first thing, which is gametogenesis. As you already are aware, gametogenesis refers to the process of formation of the two types of gametes, male and female. Okay, gametes are haploid, means gametes have n are of n chromosome number, whereas diploid has 2n on the chromosome number. Fine. The gametes are haploid. In some algae, the two gametes are so similar in appearance that it is not possible to categorize them into male and female. So, like you see over this, you see here, this is a cladophora in algae. Fine. So, it is basically both of them are very similar. I cannot differentiate between them, which one is male and which one is female. So these are basically isogametes or homogametes. They look very exactly similar to each other. Now coming back to the next one, which is fucus and algae. It has the one is bigger, the one is smaller. So okay, somewhat I'm kind of differentiating between them, that one might be female, one might be the male, and third is obviously our human miracles, the ovum and the sperm. Okay, now the first one is homogametes or isogametes. Second one, these are known as anisogametes or heterogametes. Fine. Now in homogametes, We don't know which one is male and female, so we just leave them as okay, they are gametes. But what in heterogametes? They are two morphologically distinct from each other. So in such organism, male is known as the antherozoid or sperm, and female is called the egg or the ovum. Okay, now we come to the sexuality in organisms. Okay, sexuality means male and female. Which one is male? Which one is female? Are both in one or both are different somewhere else? Okay, now sexual reproduction in organism generally involves the fusion of gametes from two different individuals. But this is not always true. It does not always need two different, like male should be separate, female should be separate. Not. So let's clear this doubt with plants first. Plants may be both female reproduct male and female reproductive structures in the same plant, which is bisexual, okay, or in different plants, unisexual, bisexual, or on different plants, unisexual. The terms homothallic and monoecious are used to denote bisexual conditions, and heterothallic and dioecious are used to describe unisexual conditions. In flowering plants, unisexual male flower is staminate, whereas bearing stamens, and female is pistillate or bearing pistils. Now let me explain you what I have highlighted on. So in plants, like consider a plant and consider a flower in it basically, because flowers are the main. There only the reproduction and all the events of fertilization takes place. So let's take a flower. Okay, now they are telling, let's take a unisexual flower where okay it has only male. Male means stamen in it, or it has only pistils in it. So homothallic and monoecious, heterothallic and dioecious are used to describe unisexual conditions. Okay, whereas homothallic and monoecious are used to denote bisexual. But in bisexual, male and female both are present in one flower. Okay, now unisexual male flower has been given a special term which is known as staminate, that is bearing only stamens, while female is pustulate or bearing only pustils. In some flowering plants, both male and female flowers may be present on the same individual monoecious. So some examples of monoecious are cucurbits and coconuts, and dioecious are papaya and date palm. So now we have cleared our cloud of doubt in plants. Now let's come to animals. You might be thinking, what is this person talking? Mostly all the animals, all of human beings are unisexual only. From where we find bisexual people. Okay, there are exceptions. It's 21st century, guys. But let's come straight to the point over here. Unisexual, most of the human beings are unisexual. Okay, or there are some special organisms which are bisexual. Earthworms, sponge, tapeworm, and leech are typical example of bisexual animals. In earthworm, before the clitellum, you'll get to if you want to know what it is, go to the 11th standard morphology in animals. I think so. It's the first, it's the seventh chapter. Yeah, I think it's the seventh chapter. You can go and refer over there. That in earthworm, both the male and female gametes are present in one. Okay, so that's why they are bisexual, and for them, the specialized term which they have used is known as a hermaphrodites. An example for earthworm, tapeworm, leech. Okay, cockroach is an example of unisexual species. Why they have given this here, God knows. But okay, let's highlight for you to understand better, for betterment of us. Okay, now let's come to the cell division during gamete formation. We know that gametes are haploid, but whichever body produces it doesn't necessarily have to be a haploid. A diploid, it can also be haploid. So a diploid body will always produce haploid gametes only. Like 2N undergoes a special process here, which is known as meiosis, and it comes down to N. Where, but especially like some special process is there in this haploid organism where the haploid parent body also can release gametes through meiosis, and further by mitosis to give N gametes. So you would be confused like what is this guy talking over here? Please go to your 11th standard textbook. In the plant kingdom, at the very last, they have given this three important cycles. It's the haplontic, diplontic, and the haplodiplontic life cycle, which will help. First read that, and if you're not getting here, okay, then fine. Go refer that and then come back here and then read on this. You will thoroughly understand. So gametes are haploid, but the parent plant body from which they arise may be either haploid or diploid. Okay, a haploid parent produces gametes by mitotic division. Haploid, it doesn't undergo meiosis. You would ask, no. For that is why you have to go look at those cycles, whichever they have given. Blah blah blah. Several organisms belonging to Monera, fungi, algae, bryophytes have haploid plant body, but organisms belonging to pteridophytes, gymnosperms, most of the animals, including human beings, parent body is diploid. Okay, now Monera, fungi, algae, and bryophytes have haploid boundary because they have this very primary level or cellular level of organization in their body, whereas pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms, and human beings have high level organ organ system level, organism level specializations in their body. Okay, so their plant bodies, parental bodies diploid. It is obvious that meiosis, the reduction division, has to occur if a diploid body has to produce haploid gametes. In diploid organism, specialized cells, which I mean is us, in in us there is a specialized cell called meiocytes, gamete mother cell, which undergo meiosis. So fun statement over here. Cells which undergo meiosis are known as meiocytes, and these are basically diploid. At the end, when these meiocytes undergo meiosis, they form haploid gametes, and only one set of chromosome is incorporated into each gamete. Okay, there is this one activity. Before that, let us look at these pictures over here. So I told you there's this clitellum. Above here only somewhere the male and female both are there, but clearly separate. See, they are magnified over here. There is testis also, and below that there is ovary also. Okay, whereas in cockroach, it's what separate. It's not hermaphrodite. What they have used a term over here, unisexual. Okay, so it has a male and female. Sexual dimorphism. The separate testes is in separate and ovaries in separate. Okay. Now same comes in D, which is dioecious plant Marcantia. It's a liverwort or a liverwort basically. Archigoniophore is a female and Antheridiophore is a male. Fine. Let's go next. This one activity is like whatever chromosome number in meiocyte is there, divided by 2, you will get the chromosome number in gamete. So human beings it's 46, as it's 23 pairs, so it's total 46 divided by 2, you will get 23. Housefly it is 12 divided by 2, so chromosome number in gamete is 6. Okay, now we come to the next, which is the gamete transfer. Now, okay, we have prepared, we are tired of preparing all this gametes. It has taken a lot of work. Now we have to transfer them or transport them so that they can go and do this miraculously vital process known as fertilization and give us a miraculously beautiful offspring. Okay, gamete transfer. So after their formation, male and female gametes must be physically brought together to facilitate fusion. Have you ever wondered how gametes meet? There might be something like channel or pathway for them. Okay. So in majority of organisms, male gamete is motile and female gamete is stationary. Oh my god, I'm so sad to say that females are not doing any work over here, but they have a major work ahead. So the male or the male counterpart, the male gamete is motile, so it has to run through and fight all those obstacles which come in between to go and meet the female gamete. Exceptions are there, where a few fungi and algae in which both types of gametes are motile. Okay, there is a need for medium through which the male gametes can move. Okay, obviously we males have legs, our gametes don't. So they need a particular channel or some medium through which the male gametes can move. In several simple plants like algae, bryophytes, and pteridophytes, water is the medium through which gamete transfer happens. A large number of male gametes, however, fail to reach the female gametes. You know, it's like fighting for that one crown. So your crown you can consider as the female, and there are this number of warriors, but only one wins. That is a win-win situation for that whoever the lucky person is. So okay, a large number of male gametes, however, fail to reach. Only one, the Prince Charming, reaches over the crown. To compensate this loss, male gametes during the transport, number of male gametes produced is several thousand times and number of female gametes produced. Okay, so consider the crown, and there are these millions of soldiers in one case, and in another case there is just this one person. Okay, now this one person goes, and at some point there is some disaster happening over there, or there is a bomb explosion, and this soldier just dies. Then what? The crown has to wait for till they prepare the next thing. That is why you prepare millions at one time. So if the million comes, there is a bomb explosion, at least someone would go ahead, not all would die in that. So that is why male gametes, to compensate the loss, male gametes are always produced in several thousand times the number of female gametes produced. Okay. In seed plants, pollen grains are carrier of male gametes and ovules have the egg. In plants, they are talking. Flowering plants, pollen grains are carrier of male gametes and ovules have the egg. Pollen grains produce an anther, therefore have to transfer to the stigma before it can lead to the fertilization. In bisexual, self-fertilizing plants, peas, pollen, pollen grains to the stigma is relatively easy. So in bisexual, where they have both in male and female in both the same flower, as you release the anther, it directly goes and sticks onto the stigma. It's very close. They're very close to each other. So they don't need an agent or some help to from the or to go through the process of fertilization. It's very easy for them. But what happens in cross pollinating where the male is in one side, the female is in one side. The male has to get some help, no? Then there our mother nature helps them. It has some agents which we will surely learn in the next chapter in brief. So I'm not going digging deep into that. So a specialized event called pollination facilitated transfer of pollen grains to the stigma in these two distant lovers, you can say. Pollen grains dominate on the stigma, and the pollen tubes carry the male gametes, reach the ovule, and discharge male gametes near the egg. So after the male goes, so before the crown or the female is inside a castle or something, there are these guards. You can call the stigma. Now it goes, it fights with it, and then there is this tube which leads to the female thing. So the male pollen grain goes from it and reaches over there. And then the most miraculous, the most fantastic event of sexual reproduction, which is the fertilization, takes place. So, if successful transfer of male gamete has been done, and coming together of gametes is very essential for this, if it's done properly, then fertilization takes place very well. Okay, now this was all for this video. If you like this video, please give it a big fat thumbs up. You can also subscribe to our channel. Before this, please do watch the previous video so that you understand all of this better. Okay, bye.